Neworleans.football. The Saints office finally finds some rhythm in the win against the Patriots. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the morning after the night before. It is Monday. The dust is settled. Let's listen to what Nick and Brooke, or just Nick, or just Brooke, whoever's actually doing this video, has to say about the explosion from the Saints offense in Foxborough.
Finding a rhythm offensively has been something the Saints have been in search of since the season started.
Since 3 years ago. They've been in search of it since Drew Brees left. They've been in search of it since we've seen Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton, Ian Book, Taysom Hill. The list goes on. Jameis Winston. The list goes on and on. We've been trying to find it. We've been searching for it. Was yesterday the answer? No. But it was certainly a step in the right direction. It was certainly something to be excited about. A lot of people today, I've been bombarded with questions today about the offensive explosion. I told everybody the same answer. Hey, relax. This is a step forward. This is not the end goal. This isn't the peak. This isn't the highest form of the team. This is strictly a step forward. Yes, good things happened. I still think the offense was a C++, B at best. This was more of a dominant performance by the defense, I think. But it was good to see the offense finish drives. It was good to see us cap off drives with touchdowns, not settle for field goals. That was great to see.
In Week 5 at Gillette Stadium, the offense finally clicked, scoring on 5 drives and going 3 of 4 in the red zone. Welcome back to The Dot. Post-game coverage presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer. There have been several inconsistencies within this Saints offense, but none more glaring than the missed red zone opportunities. But the Saints took a step toward correcting that, scoring on 3 of their 4 red zone trips.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whoa, Derek, we got interviews spliced in here at Neworleans.football. Very nice. Derek, what's going on with the sweater, my guy? What's the problem? There was nothing else? Did you lose your luggage? Look, I mean, the red zone situation, the touchdowns, scoring, those things are more important to me than Derek Carr having some 400-yard game. It's more important to me than Alvin Kamara having 120 yards on the ground. You know, like, we got to start somewhere. And the most important thing we can do is score touchdowns and be efficient in the red zone. If we're doing those things well, we can figure out the rest. Like, we can slowly figure out, okay, how do we get Alvin Kamara involved more in the ground? How do we get Derek Carr, pushing the ball downfield more? How do we compile some stats in those categories? But it definitely was huge. And that's the hard part about a box score. You could look at this and say, well, damn, Derek Carr had 160 yards. Like Alvin Kamara ran for 80 yards. How did this happen? It doesn't always all come together. It's not always going to be a 34-point shutout with a 500-yard passing game, with a 120-yard rushing game, with a 110-yard receiving game. You got to know where to look. And today, this week, Sunday afternoon, we are looking at that red zone efficiency. We are looking at capping those drives with touchdowns. I don't care where they started. I don't care that they started in New England territory. Who cares? The fact is, we got the job done. The fact is, you have to play the game that's in front of you. We played the game in front of us, and we scored touchdowns. I said the week before, I would be hesitant if we go out there, we make a bunch of turnovers, and we win 6-0, because I would be not happy. See that? Almost family channel. I would be not happy if we were settling for field goals. But we didn't. We scored touchdowns, took advantage of the field position, took advantage of the defense. Kudos.
It's a big emphasis for us this week is, we felt confident, always in the game plan that, hey, when we get down there, let's make sure that we execute.
There you go.
And sometimes it may be a field goal, but to come away out of a game, especially in this stadium, against, this scheme with those players, that's an exciting day for sure.
That Derek made a good point. We're emphasizing touchdowns right now because we had 4 touchdowns in 4 games or whatever it was. It's not always going to be a touchdown. I saw some people saying 3 out of 4 isn't good enough. We want 100%. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you will have to settle for a field goal. And the good news is we have the best field goal kicker in the NFL. Okay? So I know it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. I know he's not clutch, LOL, but in my eyes, he's the best field goal kicker in the NFL. But yeah, sometimes you won't score touchdowns. But to be 75% or whatever we were, I'm very happy with that. Very, very happy. I slept like a baby last night. I walked through today. The weather in New Orleans was amazing. Blue skies. I was walking around. I was borderline skipping. I was so excited after the red zone efficiency.
The offense finally got going for the Saints thanks to the use of more motion in the play calling. The Saints used motion 17 times in the game, including on a 26-yard pass to Michael Thomas. And the Saints also benefited from the use of motion, picking up 136 rushing yards on some of those plays. Alvin Kamara averaged 3.6 yards per carry, running the ball 22 times in the win. And on his one rushing touchdown, he now leads the franchise in career touchdowns with 73. But for Alvin, he said in postgame that this was more about getting the win for his team and less about the record.
Before we get to AK, first of all, congratulations on the record. Very deserved. Can't think of anyone more deserved. The whole motion thing. I don't know if it just kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know if there was so much pressure on Pete and Dennis. I don't know if it was so in their face after the Tampa Bay loss. I don't know if they finally sat down and said, like, okay, we actually have to do something about this. You gotta kind of believe they are. If they're changing things that much, if they're saying, look, we have to get some pre-snap motion going, we have to get these things. And I'll tell you this: if that is the case, I'm not saying my channel, but if that is the case, that is from the fans. You as a fan watching this video, you should feel good about that, because we've let our voices be heard, whether that's my channel or New Orleans Football or whoever. Obviously, the message is getting back to Pete and Dennis. Obviously, they are hearing the criticism. So this is a good example of the power of a fan base. The power of a fan base. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that he being Dennis and Pete, took the most criticism they have taken in their careers for the last 5 days after the Tampa Bay game. And then this game, they completely shift, no pun intended, and all of a sudden start doing a ton of motion pre-snap. They didn't do it for years, whole seasons. But then they shift and do it in this game with success, which hopefully it means we'll see it moving forward.
Record books.
In the 7 years I've been here, we used to a certain, I'm just talking for offense. I'll talk for offense first. We used to operating at a certain type of efficiency and a certain level of I guess, just, like efficiency and effort and just optimization of where we can score at will, right? And we can stay ahead of the chains and limit the penalties and the self-inflicted wounds. So when you can do that in this offense, man, the possibilities are really endless. And like I said, with the playmakers we have, there's enough for everybody.
Sparking the team and
He's right. Like, this is the Saints' identity. The Saints' identity is score at will, stay ahead of the chains, move the ball whenever you want, get in these shootouts. Like, our defense is really good, no doubt about it. But what makes us tick are these playmakers, this offense. That's what the Saints have been for the last 15 years or whatever it was when Peyton and Breeze were here. We're not going to be Peyton and Breeze, at least not this year. We're not. I mean, you lose the second best quarterback to ever live. It is what it is. But we have the playmakers, we have the talent on the roster to be a good offense. We don't have to be the Chiefs. We don't have to be the Eagles. We don't have to be, the Bengals or the Chargers. We don't have to be teams like that. We don't have to be explosive offenses throwing the ball downfield nonstop. We do not have to be that kind of a team. The defense is too good. Now, I'll tell you this too. Y'all see Dallas last night in Sunday Night Football? What have I been saying for weeks? I'm not totally sure Dallas is as generational of a defense as people think. That's another team where the Saints probably have a better defense than Dallas. Can the Saints offense be better than Dallas? I think it can. All we have to do is be an above average offense. If we are top 12-ish, somewhere between, I'm just going to throw a number out there, somewhere between like the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 15, 16, 17. Somewhere in there. 17 on the low end. That our defense would have to be really good then. But if we're the 8th best offense and the 13th best, or the 8th best offense to the 13th best offense, and we have the top 3 defense, that's good enough. You can win with that. You can win. I'm right back, baby. You can win the NFC with that. You can win the NFC with the 2nd best defense and the 12th best offense. No doubt about it. And even if you don't win, you can be in the game. You can be in games for sure. We just have to be. That's where we have to be. That's the goal. The goal isn't the Drew Brees 50, 60 points a game type stuff. That's not the goal. The goal is efficient, consistent, like Alvin said, optimized. We have to know what we're going to do every game. Get the ball in the playmakers' hands. Be competent. That's what we were in this game. Hold your hand if you think this offense was like some explosive, insanely good, amazing offense. It wasn't. It was competent. It was a competent C+ to B offense. And look what happened. Yeah, New England was terrible, but we're winning that game. If New England scores 17 points, we still slaughter them, right? So the bar is not that high for what our offense has to be. We do not have to outscore teams every week. We don't have to be the Dolphins.
The 34-0 shutout was Tyrann Mathieu's pick 6 early in the game. This is Mathieu's 3rd interception now in his career against the Patriots, but first time with a pick 6 in Foxborough.
We were talking about that before the game. It seems like every time I come up here, I get a pick. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the same type of pick, right? Like it's usually a tip ball, that kind of just falls in my lap.
That was a lot of juice right there. When T, when he just a ball hawk, when he been doing it for forever, I feel like. So when he able to get his hands on the ball, we know it's a possibility that we go to the crib with it, and he did it today.
He's unbelievable. I mean, there's not much more to be said. The guy's been unbelievable for so long, and he's never believed in his own hype. He just always goes out. He's one of the hardest workers that, has ever graced the field. So it's like such a cool guy to play with.
Let me say this about Neworleans.football, okay? So we've been watching their videos for a while. It's crazy how much they've progressed just production-wise. I mean, y'all have to notice it. They are miles ahead of WGNO, WDSU, WWL. Like the production going from on-field presentation to the interview, splicing that in to the pregame live stream to the postgame live stream. So kudos to the gang over at Neworleans.football. I mean, this is they're just from the start of the season, the production level has gone through the roof. So tip of the cap.
Especially growing up, just watching a guy like that, like it just makes so much sense because you see it with how he works.
There were several firsts in this game. Chris Olave's first touchdown of the 2023 season, Foster Moreau's first touchdown as a New Orleans Saint, and the largest shutout win in Patriots history at home. The Saints complete the get-back win they needed.
Man, much needed. I feel like we got in a little groove on the offensive side of the ball, running the ball. I feel like we was running the ball consistently, and I feel like it was just a good step going forward.
The challenge really was for everybody to be better. So this wasn't an offense, defense, kicking game deal. This was a New Orleans Saints need to be better.
Yeah, agreed.
We had to coach better. We had to play better. And I thought everybody, coaches, players, everybody alike, answered the challenge this week.
You see, I mean, this is just in life. You see somebody making mistakes and you kind of have that conversation of, all right, we got to do better. You got to do better. Here's what we got to work on, whatever. And then to see them actually take steps towards fixing it, being better, making that progress. That's what I felt like watching the Saints. I mean, Dennis is right. And I don't say that often. Dennis is right. It was a whole team thing. The Saints weren't good enough. The product on the field, and this goes back to last year. This isn't just this year. The product on the field was not good enough for the fans. It wasn't good enough for New Orleans. It was not the Saints football. It was football for a team on the decline. This is one game, no doubt. This is 4 quarters. Like, we're talking about a very small thing, but it feels like they got something back. It feels like the Saints got whatever it was that was missing. And man, I really hope we carry that into Houston. If we go into Houston and we beat Houston and we look a little bit better, if we look a little bit better on offense, because Houston will not be as bad as New England was. There's no team will look as bad as New England did in this game. If we beat Houston, Houston looks a little bit better than New England, and they score a little bit. Our offense has to be a little bit better, and our defense has to, like, I'm right back to being very optimistic. I mean, this is a great time. This window right here, it's great to be happening now. It's great to be happening at the beginning of the season. It's great to be happening before we face the Jacksonvilles and the Detroits and teams like that. We let one slip with Tampa. We let that slip. Division-wise, Green Bay, let that one slip, but that's not as important as obviously a divisional game. If we get the one back against Tampa, take care of business everywhere else, we're right back on track.
Up next, the Saints will travel to Houston, where they will take on the 2-3 Texans, and will get back Marcus May from suspension. We will continue breaking down the Saints' win over the Patriots tonight, live on Neworleans.football. We'll see you there.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Great video. Feeling good. Feeling great. What a great week to be a Saints fan. Who dat, all that stuff. Go down in the comments below. What do y'all think? How are y'all feeling the day after Sunday, otherwise known as Monday? How are y'all feeling? Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. I will see you in the next video.